When you stand alone in the silence of your own being, a strange realization begins to emerge. The world you thought was filled with friends is, in truth, a mirror house of projections. The faces you trust, the hands you shake, the words that comfort you, they are not always what they seem. They are fragments of a vast and ancient drama playing itself out in the unconscious. And you are both actor and audience. There is a secret most people will never admit, even to themselves. No one truly knows you. They know the image you present, the convenient mask you have chosen, or perhaps the mask they themselves need you to wear so they may feel safe in your presence. In this shadow play, the word friend often means a reflection of what I want to see. And so, the one you call a friend may not see you at all, but only the archetype they have cast upon you, the ally, the savior, the betrayer, the fool. When you awaken to this, it is not bitterness that comes, but clarity. You realize that human relationships are woven from unconscious patterns. A man seeks in another what he cannot accept in himself. A woman may call someone her closest friend, yet, deep inside, she is only seeking confirmation that her own shadow remains hidden. We project, and in doing so, we deceive ourselves. To say no one is your friend is not to say that humanity is cruel beyond redemption. It is to say that each soul is trapped within its own labyrinth, and very few dare to confront the minotaur within. Until they do, their love is conditional, their loyalty fragile, their friendship a brittle vessel filled with shifting sand. But you who listen and feel the weight of these words, you are called to a deeper vision. Look at those around you, not as saviors or enemies, but as mirrors. Ask yourself, what part of me do they reveal? What shadow of mine dances in their eyes? For when you see the truth of these reflections, you will cease to hunger for false friendships. You will stop demanding from others what they cannot give. The wholeness you yourself have abandoned. Understand this. The first betrayal is the one you commit against your own soul when you hand over your worth to another. The moment you say, "This person defines me," you have already built an idol destined to crumble. True friendship, if it ever blooms, is born only when two individuals have faced their own darkness and returned with a treasure from the depths. Without that inner journey, all bonds are fragile agreements of convenience. So, strip away the illusion. See the archetypal drama unfolding. Watch how the masks fall, how people turn when the shadow rises, how quickly devotion becomes resentment when you no longer play the role they wrote for you. In this vision, you may feel alone, but in truth, you are finally standing in the presence of something far greater than friendship. You are standing in the presence of your own self. People relate to the masks and projections they place on you, not to your true self. And this reality becomes evident when you observe how differently each person perceives you depending on what they need you to be in their world. A colleague may view you as dependable and logical because that serves their own sense of structure and security, while another may see you as aloof or distant because they unconsciously expect you to mirror their emotional intensity. In both cases, they are not truly relating to the depth of who you are, but rather to the image they have unconsciously constructed. This mask becomes a shield and a prison at the same time, and over the years many people forget that they are wearing it, allowing the outside world to interact only with a carefully curated persona. This projection is not malicious in itself, but it is a fundamental aspect of human psychology. People rarely meet each other in the raw clarity of authenticity because the mind is constantly weaving narratives, archetypes, and personal histories into every encounter. When someone calls you generous, they are often measuring you against their own inner lack. When they call you cold, they may be sensing a part of themselves they cannot integrate. Their words, reactions, and judgments are often mirrors reflecting their own inner struggles and needs. You become a canvas onto which they paint their fears, desires, and hopes, and the figure they paint may have little resemblance to the reality of your being. In this way, relationships often operate in a fog of symbols and half-truths. You may feel misunderstood because what is being seen is only a fragment, a shadow of your genuine self. When you try to reveal something deeper, many cannot receive it, for it does not fit the role they have assigned to you. If they see you as the rescuer, they cannot accept your moments of weakness. If they see you as the dependable one, they resist acknowledging your chaos or your hidden wounds. The mask they hold over you becomes the boundary of their perception, and you may begin to feel as though you are suffocating behind it, unable to breathe as your authentic self. This is why you might notice how a single action, a single word can shatter the illusion someone holds of you. They may withdraw, criticize, or even turn hostile because the image no longer serves them. The truth is that people rarely interact with your soul directly. They interact with the construct they have built in their minds. And you, seeking acceptance or approval, might find yourself playing into these constructs without realizing it. You offer pieces of yourself that fit their expectations while burying the parts they do not wish to see. Over time, this dynamic can leave you feeling isolated even in the company of many, because you know deep down that no one is touching the core of who you are. No one is truly perceiving the depths that you carry. No one is sitting face to face with the unmasked being that exists beyond the layers of roles and projections you are forced to wear. Friendships often reflect unconscious patterns and unacknowledged shadows, shaping connections in ways that go unnoticed by those involved. When two people meet, it is rarely just two conscious minds interacting. It is also two hidden worlds colliding, each filled with unprocessed memories, unspoken fears, and deep-seated archetypes that color every word and gesture. You might believe you are drawn to someone because of their kindness or their wisdom, yet beneath that surface lies a more ancient pull, a resonance with something buried within yourself that you have not yet fully faced. This hidden dimension guides friendships more than most would like to admit, creating bonds that feel fated but are often woven from unresolved aspects of the psyche. Consider how often admiration conceals a longing for a part of yourself you feel is missing. A person who feels powerless may idealize a strong, decisive friend, unaware that they are projecting their own dormant strength onto them. A person who fears their own anger may cling to a calm and gentle companion, hoping that proximity to them will quiet the storm within. These dynamics seem harmless at first, but they are built on shadows, the parts of ourselves we disown, deny, or repress. When friendships are formed in this way, they often feel magnetic and necessary, yet they are fragile because they are not based on true understanding, but on the interplay of unconscious needs. In moments of conflict, these shadow patterns often emerge with surprising force. The friend you once adored for their confidence may suddenly feel overbearing, not because they changed, but because your own hidden frustrations have begun to surface. The companion who once soothed your fears may suddenly feel distant, not because they abandoned you, but because you have begun to sense that you relied on them to carry what you refused to carry yourself. The unconscious always seeks expression, and in relationships it finds countless opportunities to do so, often through tension and projection. Many friendships also act as mirrors, reflecting qualities that one person cannot yet see in themselves. A friend who irritates you might be embodying something you secretly envy or fear, stirring feelings you would rather avoid. A friend who seems endlessly supportive might be fulfilling a parental archetype you still crave, not out of love alone, but out of an old longing that never healed. These patterns repeat until they are made conscious, until the hidden motivations are seen and integrated. Without that awareness, the friendship remains a theater of shadows, with each person playing roles they do not fully understand, bound together not by authentic vision, but by unseen forces shaping their connection and guiding their closeness in ways they cannot name. True connection arises only after confronting and integrating your own inner darkness, because without that deep and often painful encounter with yourself, every relationship you form is subtly shaped by fear, projection, and unmet needs that you may not even recognize. Within every individual lies a shadow, a collection of impulses, memories, and traits that have been pushed away because they felt unacceptable or dangerous to show. These hidden elements do not vanish. They act in secret, influencing choices and reactions, whispering in the background of every interaction. When you ignore this part of yourself, you approach others not as a whole being, but as someone seeking completion outside, asking them to soothe wounds that only you can heal. To meet another soul authentically, you must first step into the unknown regions of your own psyche and look at what lives there without turning away. This process is rarely comfortable. It requires courage to admit to your own capacity for envy, resentment, manipulation, or fear, and to see how these forces have silently shaped your relationships. Yet in doing so, you bring light to the darkness, and what was once hidden begins to lose its power over you. Instead of unconsciously demanding that others fix, hide, or carry these disowned parts, you begin to hold them yourself with honesty and responsibility. When a person has faced their inner darkness, something profound changes in the way they connect with others. They no longer need to idolize or demonize those around them because they have seen both light and shadow within themselves. They can offer compassion without losing themselves in the needs of another, because they are not seeking validation or escape. They can set boundaries without guilt, because they no longer believe their worth depends on being endlessly accommodating or pleasing. In this state, friendship becomes something different from the fragile bonds most people know. It becomes a meeting between two individuals who are not trying to complete or fix each other, but who walk alongside one another with open eyes. Such a connection does not demand perfection or constant harmony. It allows room for honesty, for conflict, for the uncomfortable truths that often destroy shallow relationships. It is born from a deep respect for the complexity of the human soul, an understanding that every person carries both radiance and shadow within them. When you have faced your own inner storms, you recognize the storms in others without judgment, and this creates a bond that is rooted not in illusion but in truth. The masks can fall away, the projections can dissolve, and what remains is a connection that does not depend on roles or expectations, but on the quiet recognition of two beings who have dared to see themselves clearly and therefore can finally see each other with depth and authenticity.